Hello everyone, welcome to Zero Labs. Today is Tuesday, June 17, 2025. I'm Mark Brash, your host, aka Whiskey One Mike, amateur radio operator. And as promised, here we go. Today is day number one of the GI-7B upgrade of the Heathkit SB-230. All right, so in these next couple of photos, you'll see that I've already taken the cover off of the SB-230 to examine the workings inside. I've removed the 8873, which I have tested good. That might seem like a contradiction, but even though the 8873 tests good, I'm still upgrading it to the GI-7B. The next thing we need to know where we stand with the radio before we start upgrading it. What's good, what's not good, and so forth. So let's take a look inside and start probing around and see what we got. The very first thing I want to do is I want to check the condition of the electrolytic capacitors. That's probably the single most frequent failure for aging electronics like this, depending on how much use that they got during the course of their life. That's what usually dictates the life of the electrolytic capacitors. So right here, see if I can show you this quickly. Right here are the 6 high voltage electrolytic capacitors for the high voltage circuit, and on this PC board along the sidewall right here is the rectifier, or the rectifiers for the high voltage supply, as well as a rectifier and a capacitor for the bias supply that also acts as the DC supply for the 120 volt DC relay. So one of the meters that I have in my arsenal is a 4070L. I don't even know if they make this anymore. It's from Harbor Freight, and it's not your average digital multimeter. This meter is designed primarily to measure inductance and capacitance. It also has DC resistance, and one of the nice things about this is most normal digital multimeters have resistance measurements up to 20 mega ohms. This extends it by a factor of 2. This has 2 additional scales, 200 mega ohms and 2000 mega ohms, or 2 giga ohms as the maximum resistance. So you could practically just breathe on this and it'll start to register resistance. It's very handy sometimes. But it also measures inductance, has 20 henries, 2 henries, 200 millihenries, and 20 millihenries. Now, you might think that 20 millihenries as a maximum is still not enough, but there are 2 decimal places beyond that 20 millihenries. So 1 decimal place is 10 microhenries. So it'll measure individual digits of increments of 10 microhenries. I can accurately measure inductors as low as maybe 50 to 100 microhenries using this meter. And the capacitance is 2000 picofarads maximum. So I can measure, capacitors all the way down to 1 picofarad, and the maximum scale is 200 microfarads. So it's a pretty wide range for measuring capacitance, and the high voltage capacitors in this radio, or in this amplifier, are from the factory 125, or they're labeled as 125. I'm sure that's probably plus or minus 10 to 20%. And let's find out what we got here to start with. So if I can get the stand out. go. Stay. All right, capacitor number 1. (132 microfarads). 142 microfarads. 142. 140. 146 and 142. So these high voltage capacitors are good, and I can already tell you that I've gone in and checked the 40 microfarad capacitor in the 120 volt section. That measured 45 microfarads. So all of the capacitors in this linear amplifier as it sits right now are good. They could fail at any time. I understand that, but I'm probably going to leave those alone for now and worry about that later. The last thing that I want to check is the high voltage supply to make sure that it's producing the correct amount of voltage and that the meter itself is calibrated properly. I've already pre-wired the input to the transformer for 120 volts and put the correct plug on the end of the AC cord. So I'm going to plug it in, and because we have 2 micro switches that protect the interior cabinet from energizing with the covers off, I have to bypass one of them. The second one on the bottom is also depressed by the bottom cover, but since it's sitting on the bench, you might be able to hear it. All right, I'm activating that one. So all I need to do is to make this work. I can press it and hold it manually, but I'll bypass it right now with the alligator clip. And I'm going to unplug it before I get in there. Okay, now I'll plug it back in. What next? Oh, okay. So, a couple of ways I can go about this. I've got my Fluke digital multimeter. This only has a maximum of, I think, 600 volts. No, maximum of 1,000 volts DC on the input. I'm expecting over 2,000 volts, so I need to find some way to scale this down. I've got a banana plug jumper right here with a 1 mega ohm resistor on it that I add to the input terminals of the digital multimeter. Plug my negative here, and then I have a times 10 probe, high voltage probe, that I'll plug into here with a 9.09 mega ohm calibrated precision resistor in the probe. That gives me a divide by 10 when I'm measuring voltage in the high voltage range. I can do it this way, or I can break out my oldie but goodie Dynascan Precision 120 that I picked up on eBay, that the seller packaged very poorly, and the whole bezel around the meter was shattered when it arrived, but I was able to put Humpty Dumpty back together again and refurbish this thing. It has a 6,000 volt DC input range and a 6,000 volt AC input range if you want to do that. So this will measure 2,000 volts natively, and I've calibrated this against this, and they're both very accurate. So I'm not concerned about this being inaccurate. Let's turn it on. And I have the delay relay indicator, but I know I have high voltage on the plate choke. So let's check out what it's reading. Ground this and go to, where is it? That range right there, 6,000 volts. And according to my Dynascan, I've got about 2,180 volts, maybe, yeah, just under 2,200 volts. And I will tell you that the digital multimeter reads 2185 when I check it with that. And the meter is showing 2,200 volts. So I might want to calibrate this high voltage range on the front panel meter just a little bit, because, you know, that's just the way I am. I like everything to read exactly perfect. But so far so good. The condition of the amplifier components looks good. I did have to take apart the loading capacitor and readjust the alignment of the plates, because as I rotated it through its full range, I did notice that one of the plates, or one or more of the plates, were rubbing at a certain point, and of course that doesn't bode too well with the tuning. So had to fix that already. And yeah, time to dive in. So one last thing I want to point out before I go up to the house and print out a whole new set of schematics and mark them up and start rewiring inside of this and opening up the tube socket and all that good stuff. One of the other most common failures for this thing is the band switch becoming frozen. And when I say frozen, I mean really frozen. If you look at this picture right here, you'll see these are the marks that were created but with my vice grips on the shaft of this thing that I could not get to budge. When I finally did get it to budge, the nut for the bushing that holds the band switch in place on the front wall of the RF enclosure came loose and twisted all of the wires around this 10-meter coil, so that I had to straighten everything back out again after I got everything loosened up. Took me, I want to say, 20-30 minutes spraying it with WD-40, working it back and forth, so that I can finally get to this. Apparently, whatever material Heathkit used, or the manufacturer of the rotary switch used for the shaft and for the bushing, were not the same material and had some sort of galvanic reaction that occurred over time. It would corrode and just become completely frozen. Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you right now, it's flooded with WD-40, and hopefully it doesn't happen again in a very long time. If you keep using it, I'm sure it's not going to cause a problem. But yeah, fun and games. So that's it for this installment. I've got a number of parts on order already from eBay that I know I'm going to need. I'm going to need the 12-volt filament transformer that mounts on the front wall. I'm going to need the copper blocks to couple the heatsink to the tube. I'm going to need a GI-7B. Hopefully I get a hold of a ham buddy that lives not too far away, who I know has got some in his basement. So I'll pester him maybe a little bit this afternoon. Maybe I even take a ride. Maybe even show up as a surprise. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, thanks all for joining me. I hope you're going to enjoy this series. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of fun to do, and appreciate you sharing the journey with me. As always, please rate, share, comment, and subscribe to my videos. And peace, everyone. The inductance measures 20 hertz, 2 hertz, 200 millihertz. I'm sorry. Start over. Hurts. What a dummy I am. All right, I'm going to try this again.